Hi, and welcome to episode number 6 of Unshakable Her. I am Fermi, your host, and I am so glad that you are here with me on this journey. I do have to say, this is difficult. This is not an easy journey. And if you are here and you are listening to this, that means that this interests you. That means that you are learning these kind of concepts and it's new to you and it's something that helps you grow. And honestly, just kudos to you because it's not easy. It's life-changing. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of awareness. It's a lot of vulnerability. And if you are listening to this and if you are in this space where you're trying to change and you're trying to heal and you're trying to outgrow old behaviors, then you are brave. You are just super, super brave that you are able to do that for yourself and work on yourself in order to be able to be a better person and create a better reality around you. Today's episode is called Unshakable Self-Talk. Today's episode is going to discuss and talk about what is this talk that we're talking about? What is this self-talk that happens inside of our minds? Now, if we listen carefully, okay, in our minds, there is a voice that is constantly talking. It's literally like a commentary that no one asked is just there constantly talking about what's going on. It can literally be talking about a conversation you just had with someone, rehashing the conversation, thinking about what you just spoke about, thinking about what you just said. It can be thinking about an action that you did or then an action that somebody else did, and this voice is just talking. It's giving you opinions. It's giving you judgment. It's just talking away and not stopping. Now, do we create a situation where we make the voice stop, right? Or how about, think about it for a moment, if you can focus in on this voice or you can listen to how this voice is talking to you, is this voice nice to you? Is this voice your friend? Or is this voice cruel to you? Is this voice against you? Is this voice your number one inner critic? Now that's what I found for myself, and this is how I had to work on this piece. And it's still something that I constantly need to work on. Last week, I mentioned Eckhart Tolle and his book, The Power of Now, and how the mind is not who I am. My mind is just a tool that I have that I can use. The problem with this tool, unlike any other tool my body has, like my hands or my feet, is that this tool works involuntarily. It will just work on its own, okay? So unlike my hand, that I can tell my hand to move and I move my hand, and if I don't want to, my hand can just freeze and stop, and I can create my hand to just freeze and stop. My mind is not the same. My mind can just talk on and on and on without me even asking for its opinion, okay? It can start criticizing me without me asking my mind to please criticize me. It just talks on and on and on. The thing is that this voice is not something that we can stop. Yes, I can take a step back. I can look at this voice. I can look at these thoughts and be like, okay, I'm just going to observe them. I'm not going to take them seriously. I'm not going to seriously listen to this. I'm just going to observe it, right? However, it does continuously talk, okay? What's important though is to be aware and to notice, how is my mind talking to me? What does it sound like? What does this voice sound like to me? And I think when I read this book, I became aware of the fact that this voice in my mind is also under my control. Just like I can control my hands and I can control my legs and I can control my mind, I can also control this voice. It's going to talk, right? But I don't like the way it's talking to me. I don't appreciate constantly being criticized. I don't appreciate constantly being put down. I don't appreciate constantly looking for the bad in a situation, specifically in terms of self-reflecting upon myself. Why does this self-reflect that's happening on me so critical? Why is it something that's so hard on me? And then I come to this realization that this voice that's in my mind is part of the programming that was put inside of me. So I think this was in the first episode, I spoke about how I see the mind, or I see our bodies as a computer system, and the way that we were raised and the way that we were and the way that we went through different life experiences, it shaped us. It shaped us into the people that we are today. It sort of programmed our computer into the kind of system that's working right now. This voice that's inside my mind, that's overly critical, that is not kind, that is not sweet, right, was a voice that was programmed into me. Whether it was by experiences, whether it was by the way that people spoke to me, but it was something that was put into me. And right now, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't like the way this program is working. I don't like right now how this computer system is servicing me. I need to open this computer system up. I need to fix the problem and then close it back up. So what does that look like? First, that looks like me becoming aware of it. Me becoming aware of the fact that the voice in my mind is overly critical. It constantly puts me down. It constantly makes me doubt myself, whether it's something that I said, whether it's something that I did, whether it's something that I had to self-reflect on, but it was constantly draining because of how negative it was. So I look at it and I'm like, I don't like this. Really, I just don't like this. I also think about, where did it come from? Who put it in me? Why was it put in me? That is the part that honestly, I think, and I recommend that you do this with a therapist, or you write it out in a journal. Like, who spoke to me in these kind of voices? Who was so critical with me that caused me to constantly be so critical with myself? Who was so hard on me? And then go through it and realize that it was other people around me that put me into this situation where I sort of forced myself to be critical with myself. That, I think, is the therapy part. That is the part that I think needs to happen with a therapist, or journaling it on your own, or even reading about it, right? But really, it's going into the actual nuts of the why. A lot of people don't like to face this part. A lot of people choose to ignore this part and be like, I don't want to go through this garbage. I don't want to bring up the stickiness of the past. What's the point of it? This is the point. This is the point because you realize that, let's say, right, if it was a parent that spoke to you in a certain kind of way, or there was a parent that was super critical with you or super negative and constantly put you down, you sort of step away from that and you realize that wasn't me. That was a parent that spoke to me like that. And that parent shouldn't have spoken to me like that. But that doesn't mean that I deserve to be spoken to like that. And I think by letting it out, right, by throwing it up, that's how I sort of think about it, or by untangling the knots of the programming that was put inside of you during that time, it helps you organize it. It helps you separate, right, the wires of this wire of how this person spoke to me doesn't belong here anymore, right? I need to trade it in for a different wire, or I need to fix this wire. Because even after you've done the therapy, and even after you are aware of this, right, you still need to change. You still need to work in it. I want a different voice. Why? I don't want this voice in my mind. I want my voice to be nice. I want my voice to be loving and kind and sweet. How do I sort of change my voice into a new voice? It doesn't just happen overnight. That voice is literally in me for the last 30 years. How am I going to create this change, right? So it's about first being aware, then going through the wires, unloading them, untangling the wires, and then being like, okay, I'm ready for a new wire. What is it going to be? Because remember, I'm just a computer system. I have the power to reprogram myself. I have the power to make myself into whichever new computer system which I would like to be. So to me, in my story, the way I did it was that I said, listen, I like to talk to other people kindly, right? I like to, something that I want to do. Most people talk to each other kindly. Most people are careful with how they speak to one another. Most people don't just meet another person and are like, hey, you looked so fat in that dress. No, most people don't look at another person and like, hey, you got huge zits on your nose. It looks terrible. Or like, hey, your hair is so frizzy. No, we don't do that. We don't go over to people and tell them the criticism that's in our mind. We just don't go over to them. Most of the time, we don't even think about it. Most of the time, it's just thoughts that we create within ourselves. So the way that I was sort of able to shift it, it's not even shifting, it's just becoming aware of it first, was saying, how would I speak to somebody else? And that would cause me to want to speak to myself in that kind of way. Basically saying, this voice in my mind, I want it to be my friend, right? If this voice were my friend, or if this voice were me trying to be a friend to somebody else, how would it speak to the person? How would it speak to her? What would it say? What would the most kind, nice, sweet person say in every situation? I had two really great ways to think about it. One way, in the way that I thought about it, was how would God speak to me, right? If I imagine God to be the most loving and peaceful and wonderful existence, right? In my mind, I sort of imagine like just the nicest grandfather that I've ever seen and the kindest grandmother or something like that. How would they speak to me? Would they speak with a harsh tone? Would the tone of voice that they're speaking to me be super kind and super soft, right? Or super loving? Another thing that sometimes helps me was like, how would I want my other half, how would I want the one person in my life that I love to speak to me? How would I want my friend to speak to me? How would I have imagined God to speak to me? How would I have wanted my love to speak to me? And then you speak to yourself in that kind of way. Sometimes it's funny. To be quite honest, sometimes it's funny because what happens is you're in a situation and suddenly you hear this critical voice. You do need to stop yourself because remember, it's like habitual at this point. It's something that you can't control. It's a voice that's been in your mind for years already, right? So the voice comes up. You know you're in this space of, I don't want to be talking to myself like this. I want to be nice to myself. I'm done with being mean to myself, okay? So you are aware. You see that voice, hear the negativity, you hear the criticism, and then you stop and you trade it off. You switch it off. And you're like, let's imagine to myself that this voice right now was God talking to me. Or let's imagine right now that this voice was my best friend talking to me. What would I want that person to say? Okay? And switch it off and notice. It's honestly funny. I found it very funny in the beginning, but notice how that person is so kind to you. That person is like, it's okay, fine, you messed up, you did the wrong thing, or you said the wrong thing, but it's fine, you're human, it's okay, everything is okay, it's not such a big deal. And you notice how this kindness sort of takes over you. And what happens is that instead of it draining you, because the criticism drains you, it makes you overthink things, it makes you feel heavy, it makes you feel depressed, it can take you into a whirlwind of thoughts, into places of where you just can't get out of it because the thoughts just drag you deeper and deeper and deeper. And suddenly now it's kind, suddenly now it's sweet to you. And everything changes. By the way, like your whole aura changes. You just become more positive. You just become happier. There's joy there. There's love there. There's kindness there because there's kindness within you. And when there's kindness within you, you feel the kindness within you. And it's all that comes out of you, to be honest. I think what happens here, okay, as a teacher, I always tell this to my students and even as a mom to my kids. When you see people and they're mean, and they're negative, or specifically bullies, right? Because this is what happens with children. You need to realize that somebody is bullying that bully. So yeah, you can be angry at them and you should be, and it's not right that that person's bullying you, right? But no one becomes a bully overnight. No one decides to spew disgusting words out of their mouth. Someone is being mean to that person. Someone is teaching that person that it's okay to talk like that. Someone is bullying the bully. Know that when someone is speaking to you like that. And know that in that person's mind, the negativity that is going on there is so powerful and is so consuming that it's almost impossible for there to be a filter before the words come out because it's going straight from the mind out of the mouth. Another point that I think is just so important, and I need to say it as a mom to my own kids, is that when you do this work, you do realize the power that you have as a parent, specifically a mom, and you realize how powerful your voice is to your children. Because at the end of the day, you are programming your children. You are the most powerful person in their lives. You are literally setting the building bricks for them that they are going to take in their future. And more than anything, the emotional part, because that body that that child has is going to walk with him into his future. And right now, you are the voice that he hears every single day. You are that voice that talks to him. Imagine the power that you have. Imagine how much positivity and love and kindness you can give him in his mind by talking kindly to him, because that's the only voice his mind hears right now. His voice and his mind is going to be shaped by the way that you speak to him, because that's the only thing he hears now. That's the only voice he knows right now. And the opposite is true as well. Imagine how much negativity, how much criticism you put in your child's mind when you don't speak to him kindly, when you put him down, when you make him feel stupid, when you embarrass him, when you make him feel inadequate, when you don't make him feel loved. He's a child. He doesn't know better. His programming isn't set in stone. So for him, that voice that he's going to hear from you is what's going to translate and become his own voice in his own mind. Okay, guys, thank you for being here with me today. Be unshakable, be steady, be present, and be lovable towards yourself.